In the news at this hour, the Pentagon announces it's closing about 180 military bases. The new Pope puts John Paul II on the fast track for sainthood. And police say the finger a woman said she found in that infamous bowl of Wendy's chili actually came from someone her husband knows.
And here are the stories you're checking out across the internet. The superstitions and origins of Friday the 13th. The controversy surrounding the Real ID Act, the plan that's being compared to a national identity card. And the intensifying hype over Star Wars as fans turn out for early premieres of Episode 3.
Those topics and you. Email, text, or blog your way onto the one show with this many ways for your voice to be heard. Now, Monica Crowley live from MSNBC World Headquarters and Ron Reagan live from MSNBC.com headquarters in Seattle.
It's been a day of tough news for many military families. This morning, the Pentagon unveils its list of about 180 military installations across the country targeted for closure.
Then a federal court rules the Pentagon has every right to keep soldiers in service far beyond their original contracted time. We'll be digging deeper into those base closings a bit later in the show, but first, today's decision that so-called emergency stop-loss orders are perfectly legal. The U.S. Ninth Circuit of Appeals said the military acted within its rights when it ordered Emiliano Santiago to remain in the service beyond the time of his 8-year contract. The National Guard sergeant had argued that was an unfair burden. But the court sided with the government, which argued that this is a matter of national security and that keeping Guard units together in time of war is essential to maintaining an effective force. Santiago had promised to take this matter all the way to the Supreme Court if need be. In the meantime, thousands of military families now face the possibility of loved ones serving months, even years longer than they expected. Well, Monica, this can't do anything to help the military's recruiting problems that they're having now. I imagine a lot of people are taking a look at that and saying, boy, you know, I'd sign up for a year or so, but I don't want to sign up for the rest of my life. And that's really the issue here for me. It's one thing, you know, if you've got a soldier who's already serving in active duty and he's been there for a year and you say to him, well, you know, we're going to need you for another 6 months, maybe another year or so. But some of these people, like Mr. Santiago, had served their time, 8 years in his case in the National Guard, and then left the military. They thought they were done. They were moving on with their life, and suddenly the military says, nope, we're taking you back. It's a little hard to plan your life when that might happen.
Well, a couple of points on this, Ron. First of all, you are right. The military is having some difficulty recruiting, but that's because we are in wartime, and that's exactly the point. This is a national security emergency for the United States, and therefore the military needs all hands on deck, which means in some cases they will recall people who have served their time to the end of their contract with the military and bring them back in, as in the case of Sergeant Santiago here. But what is clear in the contracts that these soldiers sign when they enter the military is the possibility, and it is understood by both parties, that it may be required of them to come back and have their tours of duty extended by the military. So when they sign that contract, it is understood. Now, perhaps they don't believe that the military will activate it in their case, but it is part of their contractual obligation, and the court today found as such.
Well, we first discussed this case back in early April, and we wanted to follow up on the situation. Steve Goldberg is one of the attorneys for Sergeant Santiago. Steve says what's important about today's ruling is the implication for younger kids now being recruited, and he joins us from Portland, Oregon.
And also joining us today, my guest is Jack Spencer. Jack is a senior policy analyst for defense and national security at the Heritage Foundation. He says people joining the military have to know this is a possibility, and they should be committed to serving their country. He joins us now from Washington. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Steve, let me go to you first. Your client's reaction to this ruling today that his tour will be extended in the United States military, and are you going to litigate this further?
My client is actually in Afghanistan today, so I haven't had an opportunity to speak to him about the ruling. But we were aware, really within hours after the case was argued before the Ninth Circuit, that they were going to be affirming the district court's opinion. We're at this point looking at our options in terms of appealing it, either asking for full review by the Ninth Circuit or possibly going to the Supreme Court.
Jack, I know the military's position here is that this is an emergency, a national emergency. We're in a state of war. When they say that, I'm assuming they're referring to the war on terror. But what has precipitated this stop loss, it seems to me anyway, is not the war on terror. It's the war in Iraq, which was optional and not actually part of that war on terror. So some people might not be taking that excuse so well.
Well, Ron, you obviously have not studied what Saddam Hussein was participating in prior to the invasion of Iraq, because Iraq is definitely part and parcel to the war on terror. Either way, Ron, let's look at the facts here. What we need to remember is that the United States has a delicate balance to maintain. We want to maintain as small a standing army as we possibly can while being able to defend this country's national interest. Now, the way we hedge against that is to maintain a system of infrastructure that allows us to reach backwards to other resources to fill the gap between our active force and what we need out in the field during times of war. And that system includes the National Guard and Reserve. It also includes things like these stop-loss orders when necessary. This is not something the Pentagon wants to do. It's not something that they plan on doing always, but it's part of the mechanism that's used to make sure that this country is able to do what it needs to do militarily when it needs to do it. It's just one small part of the much larger system.
Well, Ron, if I can interrupt here.
Go ahead, Steve.
It may be one small part, but it's a devastating part in terms of the families and the young men and women who are involved. Going back
Sir,
to
with all due respect, this country is at war, sir,
well,
and it's difficult to plan one's life around war, but in fact, that's what many people are being asked to do right now. It is devastating and it is difficult, but it's part of the job. Unfortunately, that's the reality of war. There's a lot of negative elements of it, and this is but one of them.
Steve, would you like to finish your response?
Yeah, I would appreciate finishing my response. Number one, we are not at war. War is something which is declared by Congress, and Congress has never declared war. We're talking about a presidentially declared national emergency, and as you said, resulting from the attacks of 9/11. But the more important issue here,
and the law,
what we're really
the
talking about here,
let Steve talk, please. Jack, thank you.
What we're really talking about here is the fact that we're supposed to, at this point in this country, have an all-volunteer army. What we have is really what we're calling essentially a backdoor draft. What happens in this case is that in Santiago's case, an 18-year-old kid signs up for the military and signs a contract at that point, which in fact does not say anything about his contract being extended if there's a presidentially declared national emergency. The contract does say that if Congress declares war, your contract can be extended, but it says nothing about the contract being extended in this situation. So what you have are young men and women signing up when they're really teenagers at this point and clearly not understanding, or they're assuming that they're signing up as they promise for a specific term, and in fact that term is being extended at the whim of the military. It's unfair. We believe, although the Ninth Circuit disagrees with us, that it is inconsistent with the language of the contract, which does not tell them that their contracts can be extended. And one more point. It also makes no sense, I think, from the military's perspective. We've all heard, as you talked about before, that the military is having a tremendous problem recruiting young men and women at this point, and it's perfectly understandable. People who are willing to commit certain portions of their lives, 8 years in this case, to the military are not willing to give their entire life, particularly, again, if we're dealing with what is supposed to be an all-volunteer military. So this policy is really having a...
Hang on, I got to get to Jack on this question. It is an all-volunteer force. They do sign up to join the U.S. military. They do sign a contract. The military makes it very clear, isn't it true, Jack, that perhaps those tours may be extended in the case of a national emergency, whether or not it's a congressionally declared act of war.
It's absolutely true, and we need to remember these are young men and women. I mean, whenever you look at these 18-year-olds who were just referred to as kids, these are people who have under their control while they're in the uniform submarines, bomber airplanes, nuclear weapons, guns. These are young men and women, adults, who are making these decisions, and they're mature enough to go out and defend this country, and they're mature enough to understand what it is they're signing when they do it. And this is a difficult position to argue because we all really respect what they do for this country, and we want them to do it and want to do it, and it's something that allows us to be here. But nonetheless, we need to understand that the system is set up as it is so that in times of emergency, like what we are in now, that we're able to do what we need to do as a nation. I think that's something that's not taken into consideration. This system is the way it is for a reason, so that we can backfill in times of emergency. And that's what we see happening now, is the system actually working. It would not be working if this were a time of peace and we had to do stop-loss. That would be a different issue. But it's not a time of peace. You can debate the semantics as a lawyer all you want about whether or not this is war. But I'll tell you what, there's men and women who are dying for your right to do this, sir. They call it war.
Well, it's a thorny issue, but I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you, Steve Goldberg and Jack Spencer, for stopping by. I imagine we'll revisit this issue again in the future. And when we return, the proposed national identification program aimed at fighting terrorism. And remember, you can continue the conversation online. Log on to connected.msnbc.com. We'll be right back.
Of military bases on the Pentagon's chopping block. But will the closings affect your safety in a time of war? Hardball, tonight at 7 on MSNBC.
Night sweats, they go on, then off, then on.
Hot flashes? Then something else comes off.
If menopausal symptoms are disrupting your life, Premarin is approved to treat symptoms and prevent bone loss. If you don't have symptoms, consider non-estrogen treatment instead of an estrogen like Premarin to prevent bone loss. Premarin should not be used to prevent and may increase the risk of heart disease, heart attack, stroke, or dementia, and may increase the risk of breast cancer and blood clots. So use it for the shortest time based on goals and risks. If you have a uterus, estrogen increases the risk of uterine cancer.
I'm soaked, I'm dry.
I'm cold, I'm hot.
I'm not. My doctor prescribed Premarin.
Premarin is not right for every woman. Discuss its use regularly with your doctor. Don't use Premarin if you've had unusual vaginal bleeding, breast or uterine cancer, blood clots, liver problems, stroke or heart attack, or think you're pregnant. Side effects may include vaginal yeast infections, leg and abdominal cramps. With 5 dosage strengths of Premarin, your doctor can choose the lowest effective dose for you. Isn't it time you asked about Premarin?
I'm so ready.
Johnson, Smith here tells me he's now fired you 15 times. Yet every day, here you are. So why don't you leave?
Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch with honey granola clusters, crunchy flakes, and tasty raisins.
I understand you. You don't take no for an answer, do you? Smith, be more like Johnson.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch. Sounds good.
Guys. Hi.
Hi.
Of all the places a Sequoia can take you, the best place is back to your family. The 8-passenger Sequoia. Moving forward. Toyota.
Portland area business owners and managers have found a new alternative to old-fashioned, high-priced classified help wanted ads. They're using PortlandJobFinder.com to find and hire smart local job seekers.
When we have opportunities available, we post them on PortlandJobFinder.com. Come look for Courtesy Vending on PortlandJobFinder.com, and you may be able to join us in our new building.
Get great results here.
PortlandJobFinder.com. It's free for job seekers and good for business.
Comcast, focused on community.
For years, the lack of a standard identification system in the U.S. has been considered a problem in fighting the war on terror. Lawmakers have been voting on a possible solution called the so-called Real ID Act. And while it awaits the president's signature, some are warning the Real ID Act could be a real problem.
The measure passed in the Senate Tuesday without debate. It calls for standardizing driver's licenses, detailing the name, picture, signature, social security number, and address of every licensed driver in the country, along with a, quote, common machine-readable technology. You know, those magnetic strip things. You need the card to travel on an airplane, open a bank account, collect Social Security payments, basically to take advantage of almost all government services. For some, Real ID is going over like a small Cessna crossing the no-fly zone. Imagine the possibilities for evil-doing hackers breaking into a database with that much personal information. Groups like the ACLU say they fear the government will abuse the info, citing the incident in California where protesters found their names on a federal no-fly list. And even some conservatives, like members of the NRA, are skeptical of placing this much trust in the government.
The measure passed in the Senate Tuesday without debate. It calls for standardizing driver's licenses, detailing the name, picture, signature, Social Security number, and address of every licensed driver in the country. Well, we have two guests to join our discussion on the Real ID Act. Michelle Waslin is the Director of Immigration Policy Research for the National Council of La Raza. She says passing of this act is a step backward in the road to meaningful reform.
And also joining us today, my guest is Colleen Gilbert. She is the Executive Director of the Coalition for a Secure Driver's License. She says this new law fulfills a key recommendation from the 9/11 Commission and will make our country a safer place. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
And Colleen, let me begin with you. I understand that this Real ID would be for national security purposes first and foremost. So tell us, how do you think it would make us safer?
Well, for one, you're going to authenticate the identity of everyone who holds one of those licenses. And a license is our key to the kingdom. You need anything. You need a license to do anything in this country. And if you don't have one, that raises a red flag.
Well, Michelle, one of the concerns that people have is that you've got all this information, like Social Security numbers in particular, all in one place, and this becomes sort of a hacker's delight. Is that a concern of yours?
Yes, I think that standardizing our driver's licenses does raise some serious privacy concerns and civil liberties concerns.
Well, actually, if I may respond to that, I think that currently you already have an enormous database of Social Security numbers in the Social Security Administration. In addition to that, you've got 50 states with DMVs that keep all of that information at their repositories too, so it would be just as easy for someone to hack into one of those systems as it would to have a state-by-state linked database. So you can make sure that people don't have multiple licenses from multiple states, as we saw with the 9/11 hijackers.
Well, Michelle, how concerned are you that this could actually be abused? I mean, a lot of the criticism says that it sort of smacks of a Nazi-esque kind of approach where the Nazis used to say, "Show me your papers," that this kind of national ID card, which is essentially what we're talking about here, is somewhat an invasion of privacy where the government is overstepping its bounds into your life.
Look, I think we really have to question the effectiveness of the Real ID Act. This was supposed to be a security measure, but the fact is that this does absolutely nothing to enhance our national security. It would have done nothing to prevent the 9/11 terrorists from getting on those planes, and it also does nothing to solve our real immigration problems. Not a single person who is undocumented in this country is going to return to his home country because he's been denied a driver's license. What this really does is create these privacy and civil liberties concerns, but more importantly, it places a huge burden on all 50 states and the District of Columbia who have opposed this bill, and it also places a huge burden on every single American who applies for a driver's license. Every single person is going to have to prove their U.S. citizenship or their legal residency in the United States. And for many Americans, it's very difficult for us to prove our citizenship. We'll have to go and dig out our birth certificates or our passports, and the people who are working at our departments of motor vehicles will have to make serious decisions regarding the validity of all of these documents, and they'll have to verify them. How are they going to do that?
If I may respond, first of all, you are mistaken that the 9/11 hijackers, several of them would not have been able to get on planes that morning if their visa expiration had been tied to driver's license expiration. But more importantly, Michelle, more importantly, they would not have been able to operate and plan the attacks on our own soil for years beforehand. And that is what this legislation aims to stop. And
Michelle, I sense that you wanted to respond to that.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All of the 9/11 terrorists had visas that the U.S. government issued to them.
That is
and that's
correct,
very
and many of them
unfortunate.
had expired.
Excuse me. Two of them had expired driver's licenses. which means that they would simply have to commit their act of terrorism sooner while their visas were still unexpired. I think that what we really need is a greater emphasis on intelligence gathering so that we know who the real bad guys are before we allow them to enter this country legally.
Colleen, this thing rode in on the back of a much larger security measure, an $84 billion bill. And I'm wondering, if it was a standalone item, do you think it would actually pass Congress, this Real ID idea?
I do think it would have passed. It is a part of the emergency appropriations for the spending bill, and it was for the war on terror, and the homeland defense on the war on terror is just as important as what we're doing over there, because if we don't take care of our homeland, we are undercutting everything the troops are doing overseas. And
Colleen,
that is very important.
I've got a couple of questions here about, because I'm generally for this in terms of national security precaution, but I've got a couple of concerns. One is a determined terrorist certainly will be able to get around this. I'm concerned about counterfeiting these kinds of cards, and also, aren't we creating a new bureaucracy then to deal with all of this?
I don't think that the bureaucracy is going to be any more thick than it already is at the moment. What we're doing is we're going to enable the state DMVs to talk to one another, much like we've tried to do in the Department of Homeland Security. And I'm not sure that counterfeiting is any more of a danger than it is right now. I think that that is always going to be a problem, and I think that the Real ID Act and the license provisions set forth in it will help to make sure that it's not as easy to counterfeit the licenses.
I'm afraid we're going to have to leave the discussion there, but I want to thank you, Colleen Gilbert and Michelle Waslin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
You.
Still don't
Pleasure
know if
to
our
be here.
pictures will look as bad on our real IDs as they do on our driver's licenses, of course. When we come back, what do John Bolton, Harry Reid, and Justin Timberlake have in common? And continue the conversation online. Log on to Connected at connect.msnbc.com.
You're watching the only show with this many ways to have your voice heard. Connected Coast to Coast with Monica Crowley and Ron Reagan on MSNBC.
Laughter. What a magical part of a healthy marriage. Hi, this is Dr. Neil Clark Warren, founder of eHarmony.com. Humor is just one of the 29 dimensions we use to match you on eHarmony.com.
He made me laugh, and we just got each other.
We laugh every day.
It's amazing. It really is.
If you're looking for the love of your life, let eHarmony match you on all the important inside dimensions, like values, intellect, character, and yes, humor.
I wanted someone who had a great sense of humor, somebody who would laugh at my jokes even if they weren't funny.
He makes me feel good all the time, just hearing him laugh.
Experience the joy of true compatibility. It begins with our personality profile, a $40 value, yours free, eHarmony.com.
We're happy together, like that's enough.
Where everlasting love is happening every day.
Everlasting love for me.
The car you've been dreaming of is the car we've been dreaming up. The all-new Buick LaCrosse, the world's first quiet-tune sedan.
Need a new home loan? Listen to what customers are saying about Dytek's $395 flat fee first mortgage.
I called around other places, but we refinanced our home through Dytek for $395, and it was real. They really stuck to the $395. We reduced the term of our loan, we reduced our monthly payments. They came to us. It was easy.
Refinance now with the flat fee home loan from Dytek.com. The total lender fee is just $395. Log on or call 1-800-DYTEK-1.
The world needs more energy and lower greenhouse gas emissions, and only one kind of power can deliver them both. That's why ExxonMobil is now making the largest ever investment in independent climate and energy research.
When I was about 17, I started Fry Farms. I sold our first load of pumpkins to a local Walmart. One by one, my brothers came home from college to join me in the business. 10 years later, we're selling millions of cantaloupes, watermelons, and pumpkins that can be found in Walmart stores across the nation. The business that we do with Walmart affects our growers and suppliers in a positive way. As we grow with Walmart, so do these other companies. Walmart has helped build the foundation for a great business. It makes me feel great. I love it.
Both sides of the blogosphere are venting their frustrations over the latest developments in the John Bolton nomination hearings. With more on the Bolton blogging tough talk is Tony Masilis, senior producer here at Connected. Hiya, Tony.
Hi there. How you doing?
Good.
Well, there is a lot out there today about yesterday's sending of John Bolton's vote to the Senate floor with no recommendation. The liberal oasis is saying that the Democrats should feel emboldened by this, that this is an open opportunity and they should not confirm John Bolton. Blogs for Bush, on the other side, is saying Senate Republicans, get your act together and finally get him confirmed. Another story that's out there today. Senator Harry Reid implied in a Judiciary Committee hearing about a nominee that he had seen the nominee's FBI file. And there's some debate out there over whether or not that's legal, over whether or not that's ethical. Red State says Senator Harry Reid has crossed the line and Reid should be disciplined. On the other side, though, Geraldine Merritt, a lawyer and a blogger at TalkLeft.com, says this is the latest misguided attack against Senator Harry Reid, and that, in fact, that document was in the public domain. Another story out there that was kind of fun, Justin's going to do a mitzvah. Justin Timberlake has accepted $1 million to perform at the bar mitzvah of a son of a British billionaire. Now, there's a catch, though. Apparently, Justin has just had throat surgery and is unable to sing, so he's going to lip sync. Now, let me tell you something. Nothing says that you have passed into manhood like having Justin Timberlake lip sync Rock Your Body at your bar mitzvah. Even for $1 million. And hey, kid, for half the price, you could have had the blog boy. Hit it.
Tony, who's saying it?
You know, Tony, you probably would have done it for $500,000, right?
I would have done it for $250.
Tony, I was going to ask who sang at your bar mitzvah, but now I know. You did it yourself, didn't you?
Mazel tov to you,
Same
Tony.
to you. Same to you.
Great to see you, Tony.
Thank you.
Tony Masilis.
Thank you.
And just a bit of flash news to report from the golf world this afternoon. For the first time in 7 years on the PGA Tour, Tiger Woods has missed the cut. That's right, sign of the apocalypse and everything. He was trying to make this weekend's Byron Nelson Classic in Texas. 29-year-old Woods has had an unprecedented career since becoming a pro golfer in the summer of '96. I imagine we can spot him this one.
Well, up next, communities across the country are reeling after learning their military installations are on the Pentagon's recommended closure list. And remember, you can join our discussion at connected.msnbc.com. Stick around.
From the bizarre to the unexpected to the ridiculous, will your favorite story make Keith's favorite 5 of the week? Countdown tonight at 8 on MSNBC.
We hope you'll join us for NBC Nightly News tonight on your local NBC station. We'll take a look at the big names on the list of military bases to be shut down. We also know much more about the small plane that shut down much of Washington this week. We'll have those stories and more when we join you tonight for NBC Nightly News on your local NBC station.
Grip, climbing ability, traction, great for animals, even better for your car. The Subaru Outback with symmetrical all-wheel drive standard. It has better handling and cornering and even better fuel economy than a Ford Explorer. And now, for limited time, take advantage of this special offer on 2005 Outback models. Think, feel, drive Subaru.
Through May 31st, receive up to $1,500 cash savings on select 2005 Outback models.
I'd like to redeem my credit card miles.
Yeah, no.
All you ever say is no.
And yet you keep calling.
That's it. I'm coming to find you. I am tired of no.
Ooh, I'm shaking in my bright yellow shirt.
You're going down.
Go from no to no hassle with Capital One No Hassle Rewards. There are no blackout dates on any airline, anytime.
I should work at Capital One.
What's in your wallet?
Hyundai Sonata clearance is here. And this is your last chance to save big on the 2005 Hyundai Sonata, one of the most reliable cars in America. Right now, get up to $2,750 cash back or 0% APR for 60 months. And that's on top of Hyundai's award-winning quality backed by America's best warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles. So don't let these Sonata deals pass you by. Hurry to Hyundai Sonata clearance, going on right now at Hyundai. Get a 2005 Hyundai Sonata with up to $2,750 cash back at your Portland area Hyundai dealer.
Comcast high-speed internet has always been fast.
Just let me download this big old file.
But it's not just speed.
Okay.
It's what you do with it.
Whoa. Okay, one more.
And now that we're raising ours to 4 megs, photos and music download faster than ever.
Last one, I promise.
And features like photo show and video mail work even better. Because no one likes to wait. Comcast, America's #1 high-speed internet provider. Still for the same low price. Call 1-888-COMCAST today.
After weeks of nervous anticipation, dozens of communities got the news they've been dreading today. The Defense Department is proposing the closure of some 180 military installations, including 33 of the biggest military bases in the country. Communities and lawmakers across the country are now struggling to save their facilities in what will be the first round of base closures in a decade. Among the hardest hit locations, Fort McPherson in Georgia, the Naval Shipyard in Portsmouth, Maine, and Fort Monmouth in New Jersey. The single largest closure involves the New London submarine base in Connecticut. Almost 8,500 people stand to lose their jobs. We've heard from reporters at 3 of those marked bases.
The state of Oregon will lose more than 1,000 personnel as part of the BRAC plan. Half of those will come here at the Portland, Oregon Air Base. That's where the 142nd Fighter Wing and the 939th Air Refueling Wing are stationed. The other half will come at the Umatilla Chemical Weapons Depot in eastern Oregon. That depot has been incinerating chemical weapons for the last couple of years. At the Portland, Oregon Air Base, Dave Northfield for NBC News.
The National Guard 110th Fighter Wing has been patrolling the skies since 1947, and in recent years, its A-10 Warthogs have provided air support in the Gulf War and the war in Iraq. But today, in a Defense Department cost-cutting effort, it has decided to close this base. 300 military and civilian employees have been affected here, and for the city of Battle Creek, it estimates the local economy could lose up to $28 million in lost revenue. In Battle Creek, Michigan, Patrick Center, NBC News.
I'm Michelle Hoffland. Good news, bad news for this town and the people at Grand Forks Air Force Base. The good news, the base is not on the closure list. The bad news, the Pentagon wants to cut the jobs there by 90% and turn it into the new home for the unmanned spy plane. The Grand Forks Air Force Base has been on the list twice before and survived. Now this town has hired a team of consultants to fight and keep the jobs here. Juan and Monica, back to you.
Well, Ron, you know, this latest round of base closures in the United States has a lot of communities up in arms and understandably upset. I mean, these things really take a toll on these communities. There's a lot of dislocation in terms of the economy and the surrounding areas, and I understand that. On the other hand, we're facing a whole new range of threats in the 21st century. Terrorist threats, obviously. No more Cold War world to deal with. It's a whole different atmosphere for the United States military. And one of the reasons President Bush chose Secretary Rumsfeld to begin with, long before 9/11, was the fact that he thought Rumsfeld would come in and streamline the U.S. military, make it more efficient, more agile, faster on its feet, and also more responsive to the kinds of threats that we're ending up dealing with now. And so I think it's responsible for the military to take a hard look at what bases we need, what bases we don't need, what bases need to be realigned, and go from there and try to explain to those on the ground in these different locations why they're doing it and try to make the best of it.
Well, one thing we can keep in mind, too, is that many of these, not all, but some, let's say, of these bases were political creations to begin with. And, you know, you got to come in. As you said, Donald Rumsfeld has come in and he's taken a look at some of these things. They're not necessary anymore. And he's saying, get the big broom, sweep them away. Now, you got to feel for the people in these towns because communities have grown up around these bases. There's a lot of support personnel that work in these towns. Their jobs depend on the bases being there. So there's going to be a lot of pain there. But as I said, you know, the military's job is not to provide jobs for, you know, for various communities around the country. They're there to be ready to go to war. And that's apparently what they're thinking about when they close these bases. Of course, there is going to be a fight in the Senate about this. So some of these base closings may not happen after all.
It is Washington after all, Ron.
That's right. Well, you can often gauge the public's reaction to an event by looking at what's being said on the internet. Today's base closings, no different. Blogger Jeff Quinton has been keeping track of the base closings and realignments, especially those in his home state of South Carolina. His blog is called Backcountry Conservative at jquinton.com. Welcome to you, sir. Jeff, how are you?
Great. How are you doing, Ron?
Good, good. Well, tell us, as you survey the blogosphere, do you notice that there are sort of regional differences in the responses to these base closings? Maybe people in Texas are all for it because they seem to be coming out pretty well, but maybe not so much in your home state.
Well, from what I've seen so far today, there's been reaction. It's been somewhat muted from many of the states upset about the closings. And then there have also been other states where people are saying, we're glad it didn't go as badly as we thought it was going to go. And South Carolina was one of those states. There was a lot of speculation that Shaw Air Force Base was going to close or that another facility might close in South Carolina, one of the ones that's there. And there were people in Mississippi who I read earlier today who were blogging. Chris Lawrence, signifying nothing, wrote that it wasn't as bad as he expected, although Pascagoula was closing, and that he was the one who actually pointed out that that was a political creation of Trent Lott that was kept alive during the last round of BRACs.
Jeff, are you seeing different reactions from, say, the regular military versus National Guard versus reserves?
I haven't seen a lot of that lately because a lot of the mill bloggers probably are waiting and seeing before they actually post anything on it because they're going to go where they go regardless of what happens. Maybe more so in the reserve components, they would be a little more interested in it because it may affect them more individually. I know I have seen one analysis of the situation. I believe it was Phil Carter at Intel Dump, who posted some analysis of the situation with the BRAC announcement that it was the majority of bases being closed, if you looked at the whole list, were reserve installations, and that more of the active duty bases were staying open.
Jeff, you know this has still got to make it through the Senate, and a lot of these senators are going to fight like hell to keep these bases open. What are the blogs prognosticating about about how that's going to shake down in Congress?
Well, I've seen a couple of bloggers who are talking about that very issue and who have gauged the reaction of local politicians, like the press conference outside of Fort McPherson earlier today with the governor of Georgia, and Senator Byrd made some pronouncements about the closing in West Virginia, and they've pointed out that there's going to be a fight in a lot of the states, and that in a lot of the states the people are just doing it to pander to votes, and that the bases ought to be cut anyway. And then there's also been the people who agree with those politicians and want the bases to stay open.
Jeff, on another angle here, how important is the internet in linking the families that are involved in these military base closings and keeping them in touch and sort of, you know, solidarity?
There have been a lot of communications among different family members, just like there have been with family members who were deployed overseas on this issue, and there have been a lot of speculation and research on message boards and different forums, and there have been a lot of Google searches for it. I've been getting a lot of traffic on my blog in the past few weeks looking for information on it, and I know Michelle Malkin posted about it on her blog that she was having a lot of people searching on terms related to the base closings, and some other bloggers were as well.
All right, blogger Jeff Quinton, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
And speaking of connecting on the internet, on MSNBC.com, you can become a citizen journalist and share your stories on the impact of the base closures. Dennis from Alva, Oklahoma writes, "This will have a drastic impact on me and my family. I'm a disabled vet and invested all my money in rental properties in Ingleside, Texas. This area was supposed to be taken off the closure list permanently. I sure hope I don't suffer a great loss."
Sharon from San Antonio, Texas writes, "It's ridiculous to consider closing any facilities at this time as we need to be prepared. In San Antonio, we will lose some jobs and gain others. Our net gain is really not the point. This will destroy people's livelihoods all over the country."
And Tim from Clovis, New Mexico writes, if they close our local base, I feel it will be devastating to this small community. Much of the economy in Clovis is due to the business generated by military members at Cannon Air Force Base.
And finally, Kyle from Anderson, Indiana writes, to tell the truth, Indiana has already been shell-shocked by a huge loss of automotive and manufacturing jobs. Taking hits from military base closures will put more salt in the wounds, definitely. And if you have a story of how you and your community would be affected by a military base closure, become a citizen journalist. Go online to cj.msnbc.com and report what you know.
Well, today's base closures is also the topic of our question of the day. Should U.S. military bases be closed during wartime? So far, 33% of you said yes, and 67% of you said no. Well, coming up next, a battle of epic proportions, the Federation versus the Empire. We'll be right back.
I was about 17. I started Fry Farms. I sold our first load of pumpkins to a local Walmart. One by one, my brothers came home from college to join me in the business. 10 years later, we're selling millions of cantaloupes, watermelons, and pumpkins that can be found in Walmart stores across the nation. The business that we do with Walmart affects our growers and suppliers in a positive way. As we grow with Walmart, so do these other companies. Walmart has helped build the foundation for a great business. It makes me feel great. I love it.
Have you seen my new pillow windows? They're stunning. But look at this. The shades are in the windows? Yeah, so they don't get dirty or damaged. And they work like regular shades? No, even better, they're cordless. Look at that. One, it's so easy to change the shades, too. Oh my gosh, look at that. Do it again.
The new designer series, Windows and Doors. Only from Pella.
Want to see the other one?
Eventually, you'll look through them. The Design Your Own sale is going on now. Call today for more information.
That's it. Thank you, everyone.
Really great loan offers. Remember, no points.
Okay. We'll let you know.
I think we got some pretty good mortgage offers there.
Yeah. Of course, we still need to pick a real estate agent.
Sorry about that, guys.
Now you can find a mortgage and a real estate agent all in one place. At LendingTree.com, you can search for homes, select an agent, and choose a mortgage. Plus, you can get up to a $1,000 gift card to the Home Depot when you close with a real estate agent certified by LendingTree.
Thanks to Sprint, ING Direct customers don't have to go to the bank. The bank goes to them. Online or on the phone, ING Direct has been able to give customers reliable, secure access to their accounts with zero service interruptions over the Sprint Peerless IP network. With Sprint, ING Direct is secure, convenient, beautiful. Detailed case studies at sprint.com.
Hello, Chicago. Anyone there? Can you hear us?
How do we do this?
With this.
But that's a phone.
It's a phone, it's the web, it's a video conference. Ed, stop hitting the TV.
Konnichiwa.
Productivity. Powered by Cisco.
Guys. Hi.
Hi.
Of all the places a Sequoia can take you, the best place is back to your family. The 8-passenger Sequoia. Moving forward. Toyota.
So it's actually finally come to a theater near you, or at least some of you. Last night, die-hard Star Wars fans shelled out $500 apiece to see Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, a full week before the rest of us. Pay-per-view screenings were held in 10 cities across the country. The movie officially premieres May 19th.
Now, $500 might seem like a lot of money to see a movie to us, but for the dedicated men and women who consider themselves Star Wars fanatics, it's mere pennies. But they're not the only ones devoted to cinematic space adventures. In fact, the force is also strong with Star Trek fans who prefer phasers.
What about your phaser, Captain?
To lightsabers.
You will not turn to the dark side. then perhaps she will.
So who's better, Luke Skywalker or Captain Kirk? Who's badder, Darth Vader or a Klingon? In the battle between the Federation and the Empire, who comes out on top?
Well, let's let the galactic battle begin. On the Star Trek side, Tim Brazil. Tim is both a Star Trek fan and founder of the internet campaigns Save Enterprise and Trek United, aimed at keeping the Star Trek series on TV. Tim joins us from Los Angeles.
And also joining us in the Star Wars corner, Shane Felux. He's not only a Star Wars fan, he's also the director of the popular Star Wars fan film we told you about a few days ago, Star Wars Revelations. And he joins us now from Washington. Welcome to you both. Tim, let me begin with you. So I understand that tonight is the last night of Star Wars Enterprise. You bummed out?
Star Trek Enterprise, yeah. We're having a party over at the embassy to kind of watch and get a lot of the fans together and celebrate the end of it. So, yeah, we're all a little bit unhappy about it, but it was a good series.
Well, you can tell how confused I am because I said Star Wars Enterprise, and of course it's Star Trek Enterprise. Shane, the Star Wars movie comes out in a week for the rest of all of America. How excited are you?
We're very excited, obviously. I mean, as all the fans line up, they're already standing in line and have been for a couple of months now. So, yeah, we're all set. But this is also the end of kind of our story, of our book in terms of the movie. So I feel a little bit what Tim is feeling. It's, you know, Friday the 13th, the last day of Enterprise, and it's kind of the last of the Star Wars movies. We kind of share a common bond or interest in terms of fandom.
Okay, all that common fandom and stuff, but Tim, let's get right into it. Who's cooler, the Trekkers or the Jedi Knights?
I think we all are to some extent. I mean,
that was a very diplomatic answer.
I'm covering bases here, guys.
Yeah, Tim, they're trying to start a holy war.
Yeah, they are.
Go ahead and say it, Tim, that you prefer the Trekkers.
Well, I mean, you guys are...
I'm actually a fan of both, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan from 77, 78, and I'm also a big Star Trek fan. So if you're trying to get an intergalactic battle going here, it probably won't happen. I mean, I love them both. You know, I love most sci-fi, but I prefer Star Trek, so we'll let that sneak by.
Well, Shane, let me pick up on that. Why would somebody prefer, say, Star Trek over Star Wars, or the reverse? Is it sort of like apples and oranges, or, you know, Trekkers are from Mars and Star Wars people are from Venus?
Well, you know, Ron, I mean, you might as well get in an argument as to, you know, tastes great, less filling, or do you like vanilla over, you know, strawberry ice cream? It really is universal. I think you can break it down in terms of fandom. Star Trek fans are... The series has been there 35 plus years, so it's been there longer. A lot of people associated with the social structures that it created. It dealt with a lot of morality issues. It also deals a lot more within science. It has a lot of family values. Now, Star Wars, on the other hand, deals more with fantasy, with mythos, with things that we all kind of dream of a galaxy far, far away. But whether it's Star Trek, Star Wars, I mean, when you get fans, which is basically a fanatic, they believe in something very strongly. And so this war that you're trying to pose stems from with somebody feeling strongly about one thing, and they'll stand behind it. But I think that fans, you know, why can't we just all get along type thing?
Well, not everybody is so diplomatic as the two of you guys. Casey writes in, Star Trek has always been about the power of humanity to rise above its petty differences. Star Wars is a children's fantasy.
Fighting words.
Tim, you want a piece of that?
The only thing I'll say on that, like I said, I'm a fan of both, but I think the difference, like he said a minute ago, is mainly that Star Wars is a little bit more fantasy oriented, to where Star Trek is a little bit based more on technology. And you know, to me, I hope I'm not going to get in trouble here. To me, Star Wars is a little bit more for people who can just sit down and watch a movie and don't have to, or a series, and not have to concentrate on what they're doing.
Uh-oh, Shane, you going to take that sitting down?
I will take it sitting down, because I'll agree with him. I don't want to have to think too much. I would like to go to a galaxy far, far away and escape. I don't want to be bombarded with science, and that's just my own personal preference. But I think that the comment that you're getting from emails saying that Star Wars is geared more towards children, that might be a little rough, but it's also a little bit sad to think that there is a child within inside of all of us that loves what that myth and that magic has done with the warrior, the adventurer, that sort of thing. Star Trek still has their own exploration and science. So it just delves a little bit more in technology, and it gets too deep into it. Whereas I just want to sit back and entertain me. I want to have a good time.
Well, in that vein, Tim, who's got the coolest sound effects? I mean, Star Wars has those lightsabers, you know, but you guys, the Trekkers, have like the tribbles, the little furry things.
We've got phasers. We've got, yeah, we have phasers. The lightsabers are really cool. I think a lot of the difference with Star Wars too is that they actually have a lot more CGI. I mean, they use a lot more animation in the robots. I've actually seen Shane's movie that he put out, and it's dynamite. I mean, it just rocks. But I think as far as effects go, I would say that Star Wars has a lot more. You know, I mean, that's commonly known. So, and I think if they could incorporate the two with Star Trek and Star Wars, I think we'd have a blockbuster. You know, I mean, I think something that would attract both crowds with both of this coming to an end.
Well, I tell you what, Tim.
I think it would just do dynamite.
I tell you what, Tim, if Paramount, from the $3 million that you raised from that wonderful website you created for fans that support Trek, I tell you what, we can team forces together. You bring the money, I'll make the film, and we'll make a film that fans like. How about that?
Oh my goodness, the forces with
my
both
number's
of
on the
you.
website.
Oh, wait a minute.
We'll just do away with the networks and move on with it. We'll make our own fan film. There you go.
There you go.
All right.
Give me a call.
Look, we can all get along, and you gentlemen just proved it. Tim Brazil and Shane Felix. Thanks, guys.
Live long and prosper. May the force be with you.
Absolutely. When we come
do
back,
the Vulcan thing this time.
Yeah, there we go.
When we come back, man's best friend saves the day. And remember, you can continue the conversation online. Just log on to us at connected.msnbc.com.
When it comes to the biggest legal cases, all the evidence points to one place. The Abrams Report with Dan Abrams, next only on MSNBC.
Dozens of military bases on the Pentagon's chopping block. But will the closings affect your safety in a time of war? Hardball, tonight at 7 on MSNBC.
Term life, annuities, long-term care. I can't make any sense of this. Can you do it?
I did a checkbook.
I'll play it for it.
There's no question. Understanding insurance and investing is difficult. At Genworth Financial, we're dedicated to making things clear. So when you're ready to figure it all out, we'll be there to help. Whenever that may be. Genworth Financial, the right approach to insurance and investing makes all the difference.
In the future, everyone will protect their eyes from sun damage like they protect their skin. Transitions lenses. They automatically adjust to changing light and block harmful UV rays and glare. So don't wait until tomorrow. The danger is here today, and so is the protection. Ask your eye care professional about Transitions lenses. Transitions, healthy sight in every light.
Refinancing with Dytek's $395 flat fee home loan can save you thousands of dollars in closing costs.
I made a phone call to Dytek, talked to a lady there. She told me they had a special going for $395 closing costs. We answered some questions, faxed over some papers. Within 2 days, we were approved, and next thing you know, we were closed.
Refinance now with a flat fee home loan from Dytek.com. The total lender fee is just $395. Log on or call 1-800-DYTEK-1.
Hi, I just wanted to pass on my compliments to the Comcast technician who repaired our TV service. He would not leave until it was perfect. This young man really cares about getting the job done right. Our system has never worked this well. We have a great picture now. He's a really devoted young man and obviously cares very much about the quality of his work, and it was just a delight to have in our home. Thank you so much.
Comcast, taking care of what matters most.
We've tried to make our practice the type of doctor's office we'd want to visit ourselves.
When it's about your health, you shouldn't have to wait.
At Hillsborough Internal Medicine, you can call for a same-day or next-day appointment.
We have the technology to perform many lab services right here in our office.
Okay, we're almost done here. And we can discuss the results before your appointment is over.
Whether you just need a physical or have multiple medical issues, we're here for you.
We're Hillsborough Internal Medicine.
It's not just what we treat.
It's how we treat you.
They are calling her Angel Baby, a newborn abandoned in the Lanana forest on the outskirts of Nairobi, Kenya last week. The 7-pound, 4-ounce baby girl had been placed in a plastic bag and dropped in the woods without nourishment or water. There she lay for perhaps 2 days, starving, her umbilical cord infected. She must have cried out, but along the busy road that bordered the forest, no one was listening. Nobody heard. Well, almost no one. I had just reached the Lanana forest, local Stephen Toya told Kenyan's Daily Nation newspaper, when I heard the sound of a baby crying. I looked closely and I saw a dog carrying a baby wrapped in a black dirty cloth as it crossed the road. The dog, mixed breed, no name, probably a stray, was likely out foraging for a meal. She'd just given birth to a litter of puppies and they were hungry. Now, this story could have taken an unfortunate and grisly turn, but remember, we're talking about a dog. These are creatures who have shared our lives for at least 12,000 years. There is a bond. Was the canine mother moved by the plight of this human infant? Was it just blind instinct? Whatever the case, she carried the little girl back to her own litter, caring for her as best she could. That's where the child was ultimately found, nestled amongst a pile of puppies under the watchful eye of the mother dog. She was taken to a local hospital and is now doing fine. And the dog? Well, dozens of Kenyans are visiting her home, bringing food and medication. One person has even offered to feed the dog until the day she dies. However skeptical you may be about the intelligence of non-human animals, it would be hard to argue that in this case, a dog, and a hungry stray at that, didn't act more responsibly than at least one human being. Going to the dogs? Well, maybe, if you're lucky.
Very sweet story, Ron.
Yes, the dog has a name too, Savior, they're calling it.
Oh, very, very nice story. Well, we've been hearing more from you about the Pentagon's proposal to shut down nearly 180 military bases in the United States. Howard from Eureka, California writes, if the Bush administration decides to close bases, what's the problem? No matter what decision this administration makes, Democrats go nuts.
But Laura from Crescent City, California writes, when bases were closed in California, it put a burden on the vets and family members. It's not what was promised when these men were asked to make the military their career. Other arrangements should be provided. And there's more reaction to our debate earlier today about whether the Democratic Party has any new ideas to offer. A from Naples, Florida writes, this country needs a third party, preferably independent, with middle-class people who can run for office. We have too many politicians with their own agenda and certainly not showing any constructive ideas.
But Christopher from Lorain, Ohio writes, it's the same pattern over and over. The Democrat goes on about the evil of the Republicans, yet when asked for a different plan, we get nothing. No Social Security or base closing plans. The days of elect me first and I'll fix it later are over. Well, we will have more of your email responses coming up on Monday at noon Eastern. You can drop us your comments to connected@msnbc.com. Thank you so much for watching us today. Coming up next, the Abrams Report with the very latest from the Michael Jackson trial. I'm Monica Crowley.
And I'm Ron Reagan. We'll see you here again Monday at noon Eastern, right here on MSNBC. Have a good night and a terrific weekend.
Countdown with Keith Olbermann, tonight at 8, only on MSNBC.
On radar, we have some nasty thunderstorms from Michigan down through western Tennessee ahead of a slow-moving frontal system. Elsewhere, some rain in the Great Lakes back through the Dakotas. There's the AccuWeather forecast for Saturday. Thunderstorms, a possibility in Washington and Baltimore, which may cause some delays mainly in the afternoon hours. Maybe a morning thunderstorm in Dallas. Houston can see an afternoon storm. Philadelphia and New York, just a couple of showers.